Whenever, all right, I'm going to say something else controversial. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
A union is a democracy. A union is a democracy of its members. They elect their leaders. They elect them. They are internally a democracy in and of themselves. They choose their leaders. They choose and approve their contracts. They vote on them. So we need to understand that that is a microcosm of everything that is amazing about our country. And yes, it's supposed to be difficult for the employer, and the employer is supposed to learn how to negotiate. Those are the skills I'm bringing to the table when you elected me as county commissioner. Is the idea that I have the background on both sides of the table. I have the ability to negotiate. I understand that there's times when the money is tight. And as a union, you discuss the idea, well, you know what, maybe this is the time in our contract that we should discuss language issues. Maybe we should have some successes with the language of our contract. There are many opportunities to actually negotiate. All right, now we got another question popping up.
I have several questions here.
We've got one with more.
Let me finish Paul up, because they're all sort of the same, on the same kilt here. What improvements do you think should take place at the Connellsville Airport to improve service to the county, and why?
So when you look at our neighboring counties and you look at their airports, we're a little bit behind. We have strong leaders in our airport. We have strong individuals who are supporting it, but we're in a situation where in order to make it successful, we need to extend its runway. We need to extend the services that they're able to provide, and we need to make that investment as a county in order to accomplish that. Now, we're in a situation where you have to understand how amazing our county could be when it comes to that traffic coming in. Guess what? When I go to Costco and I try and encourage them to come into Fayette County, I bet you their folks are going to be flying in on a private plane. And we need to make sure that airport is ready for them. Now, we need to make sure that we have that, not just for our business side, but we also need to make sure that we have it for our tourism side as well. These are the individuals, the investors, the high-level people who want to come and look at our county. These are the folks who are going to be flying into the Connellsville Airport. And I think that there's a part of our hearts that we need to start perceiving it as the Fayette County Airport, not just the Connellsville Airport. I think we need to make sure that we look at it as our home airport. Yes, its name will always be Connellsville, but those of us throughout the entire county have to look at it as our home airport, and we have to realize that it affects all of us and that it's important to all of us. We have to see it that way.
Okay, well, you know, living as a Connellsville resident my whole life, I don't have a problem with that, but I do know that in the past, the county commissioners kind of neglected this part of the county. You being from Brownsville, how would you help stimulate growth around here?
One of the things that we have to understand is that my concern is that all boats rise together in the flood of enthusiasm. And that has to be every single bit of us all at once. We cannot simply look at this community succeeding and the other community succeeding. I think I'd like to twist that around a little bit and help you to understand how successful I believe downtown Connellsville has become.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, that you know, what I'm looking for is the ability to have the folks from Connellsville to be able to communicate their successes with the folks from Masontown and the folks in Brownsville. We need to have a little bit more shared idea to say, hey, those of us over in Connellsville, we're doing really amazing with this. I'd like to show you how we did it so that you can do it just as well in Masontown, and you can do it just as well in Dunbar, and you can do it just as well in Brownsville. I have to look at it as a team effort. Now, Connellsville's changed so much, you know, since I was a kid. And the successes are apparent. And, you know, you go to the Connellsville Canteen, it's just absolutely just not only a wonderful museum to the people of this area, but it's also a wonderful testament to an amazing cuisine and a really great menu. Whenever you go and you see how hard everybody works at a Rib Fest or works so hard at a Wings Fest, my wife and I had the opportunity of having, I don't know, 24 wings in in one day, and it was just absolutely the best thing ever. I want to see those successes that Connellsville's happening bleeding into the other communities who are trying for those same successes.
Okay, just for the record, this is from Alexa, and I'm reading it, and I couldn't figure out why it said Bud Light to begin with, because there was two capitals, BL, and I'm thinking Bud Light presents. But it took me a while to figure out it's Blight.
Blight.
Blight presents many issues.
So Blight's going to lower your taxes in your county because some of those properties are abandoned. Blight is going to create hopelessness in your neighborhood because that's all the children see, that's all the families see. They lose hope. Blight is in a situation where you are talking sometimes about properties that are actually owned and not necessarily being enforced on their codes. You're also dealing with the idea of blight causing you to have a situation where every one of their neighbors is experiencing a lower property value because of that blight. We have to start screaming with our incredibly loud voice and lobbying to make sure that we have the necessary grants and state money from taxes we've already spent in order to have them address this problem here.
But Kevin, let's face it, blight is a business around here. Low-income housing, HUD, we have people that make fortunes just by keeping blight and by putting people to live in blight. So you have to figure a way to either upgrade their standard of living, kick them out, or are we going to have the same kind of allow some fracking and not fracking, or allow some blight and not some blight?
Those individuals who are actually physically and financially responsible for blight, I would highly recommend that they do not vote for you.
Well, that's fair enough, but
I believe that we have to actually be in a situation where we actually address the problem in a very bold and a very strong way and say, you're holding us back.
well,
You're holding us back. I do not want to be in a situation where, hey, I'm the candidate out there with the least, and I'm the candidate out there doing my best to wear out my shoes, and I stay away from, folks who are in a situation. All right, so here's the conversation I had with Albert. I was about 5 years old. I came home. I had tears in my eyes. My mom said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, these couple boys at school, they don't like me." And she said, "I don't want them to like you. They're bad." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "I don't want bad people to like you, Kevin. I don't want bad people to like you. Because that says more about you than it says about anybody else." And I've carried that with me my entire life. Very simple idea. That yes, if you're hurting this county, then I think those days are over. I think those days are over, and I think we have to take a strong stand.
Well, that's what I'm hoping somebody says, that we need to take a stand and do something about that. I don't know what the answer is. I know you don't know what the answer is, but there's a lot of people just want to pass that buck, or...
No more passing the buck.
Good.
Here's what I have. I have made, in this campaign, I've made incredible friends of incredibly smart people. I don't have all the answers. And what I know is that I have the ability to listen, and I have the ability to learn and do it quick and fast. I had somebody in the primary look at me and said, "You have a lot to learn. You have a lot to learn." And so badly, I wanted to look back to him and say, maybe I've learned it and I don't like it. Maybe I've already learned it and I just don't like it. Maybe we're in a situation where somebody has to draw a line in the sand and say, and I'm going to do a shout out if you don't mind.
Shoot.
Joe Barantovich, Laura Patterson, and what they're doing in Brownsville to address blight. The simple idea of the very first day getting 140 people in Brownsville together to just clean the streets, just to actually pick the weeds, had me walking down the middle of Main Street, sweeping up the streets like Slugger Klingensmith used to do. And I was in that situation where I realized that this is the way we do it. We all gather together And then the following weekend, they had the same number of people out there planting flowers. These were all things people donating time. And then you see the next thing. On a day that she didn't even plan, an event that she didn't even put on Facebook, I see some of the pillars of our community out with weed whackers, just cleaning up on their own, just doing it because. That's a community coming together to fight blight. And we can do that anywhere.
It takes leadership.
And it
It's not
takes.
about good people, there's lots of good people, it's leadership.
It's leadership. And we're also in a situation where somebody has to stand and say, enough is enough, no more, no more. And yes, that still goes back to the idea of fracking, because yeah, enough is enough, no more, no more.
Okay.
Don't, if you know, it's kind of like, no, it's over. We've done our bit, we've contributed our contribution. So what? Somebody come up to me and say, I want to bring in an enormous manufacturer of solar panels. People will say, no, that's green energy. If it's jobs, folks, let's bring it in. Say this straight out right now. I was already told not very long ago, well, Kevin, you want your cake and you want to eat it too. All right, you want it both ways. And I'm like, I'll say it right here, right now. You know, I want to bring into Connellsville, Uniontown. Let's bring a Chick-fil-A in. Let's bring a Chick-fil-A. We don't have a Chick-fil-A. Let's bring a Chick-fil-A in. But you know what? I'll never buy anything there. I'll never buy anything there. I'll bring it in. I'll cut the little ribbon. I will welcome them in, and I will say that is a great. You brought jobs to us, and you brought us a Chick-fil-A. But you know what? I'm sorry. I personally don't agree with your politics. I'm never spending a dime there. All right? I don't agree with your politics. I'm not spending a dime there. But guess what? I'm going to welcome you in anyways. And I was told, oh, you can't have it both ways. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I can definitely have both ways, because it brought jobs in, and it brought a new business into Fayette County. Great. I'm not going to spend my personal money there, because I don't believe in their politics. But bring them in anyways. Bring them in. Bring them in.
Okay, now I'm going to ask a question that your wife gave me to ask you.
My wife just gave me a question. This could be bad. Can I first say that I really love you, sweetheart, and you work so hard for me, and I think you're a rock star? Okay, now let's see.
Well, she gave me several, so I'll start off.
I'm in trouble.
I'll start with the easiest one. Are you a cat or a dog person?
Oh, she asked if I'm a cat or a dog person. Okay. Okay. So I had 3 of my students call me up crying. They were heading off to college, and they already had 3 cats. And the 4th little kitten came up on their back porch, and they said, you got to take the kitten because you want a kitten. And I said, I didn't know I wanted a kitten. Next thing I know, the young lady and her boyfriend, who I also taught, are up on my porch, and he grabs the kitten and he jams the kitten on my shoulder, and the kitten buried his nose inside my beard, and I've been a sucker ever since. I guess that little kitten is mine, and I am a dog and cat person and a bird person. I have an African gray parrot who says I love you and says hello, and it says give me kisses, and it barks like the dog. And so yeah, I'm an animal guy. Now my dog, who I dearly love, who's an Australian cattle dog, which is basically a tornado inside a fur. I love her to pieces too, but I have a feeling that I might be partial to a cat. And my wife's giving me the dirty looks because I may be partial to cats. So.
I had to ask because I didn't understand why she wanted me to ask.
Yes, she wanted to put me on the spot.
I figured there was a story.
She wanted to
involved.
put me on the spot. I get it.
Now, in our past conversations, our past podcast, you told me that you created the Fayette County flag.
Yeah, so I created the Fayette County flag. Most of them have been taken down since the beginning of the election. Imagine that. Not all of them have been taken down. There's still one right in front of the 911 building. I created the Fayette County flag back in 1994 when I organized a countywide, all the way through Connellsville, countywide event celebrating the anniversary of when General Lafayette came back to Fayette County in order to visit a place named after him. Went into Brownsville, had a meeting at the Brownsville Lodge, number 60, and with his fellow Masons, and proceeded to travel throughout the county. Hung out with a buddy of his by the name of Albert Gallatin for a little while, slept at his house, proceeded through the county that was named after him. In that scenario, I wanted to make sure that he was placed right in the middle of our flag. And as a cute little reminder, there's a difference between a flag and a logo. So yeah, the Fayette County flag, if you look at it, it is red, white, and blue, but it's actually the French flag in reverse, because that's his home place. Super proud of the idea of Lafayette feeling that it was so important to him that when he returned to the United States as an elder statesman, that he took time out of all the places in the United States to come back to the place named after him, and in the region where he knew all the other generals, Westmoreland and Greene and Washington. This meant something to him, and we need to represent that in our heritage.
Here's a couple of good questions from Adam. Well, I don't know if they're both from Adam, but I'm going to combine these. What will you do to attempt to unite the Democratic Party in the county, and how do you plan to change the negative national perception of Fayette County so that they can work together? How can we do that?
All right, we had a short discussion at the last debate held by the Fayette County Chamber of Commerce, where the concept of Vietnam was brought up, this terminology. I want to go on record incredibly clearly, the same way I did this in my classroom. Using the terminology Vietnam is insulting, and I think that it's very important to understand first who it's insulting to. The first person that it's insulting to is the person who served in Vietnam. Okay? This is in no way, shape, or form anything like that experience that they had, and I refuse to diminish their service and their experience by using this terminology, attempting to turn it into some kind of a joke. And other people in the political arena have had the attitude of saying shush, shush, don't say that word. I have the reverse philosophy. I believe it needs to be attacked and it needed to be addressed, because this is insulting to us. It's insulting to the people who have served. And yes, we have challenges. We have a track record in this county of elected officials making incredible successes over time. And I think that what I'm asking is that you allow me to participate in these successes and bring a fresh set of eyes and a little bit of creativity to the actual solutions. And the next side of that question, when it comes to the idea of unifying the Democratic Party here in Fayette County, I believe in my heart that even though we have well, first of all, I'll say this straight out, we're a lot more unified than the other party is. They are fractured. They are fractured. They have two very deep divisions. I would like to remind people that my father's a Republican, and I was raised in a split household of a Republican and a Democrat, and I truly understand my father's Republican values, and they're not always being reflected. I would also like to say that I think the process of unification in the Democratic Party here in Fayette County has begun. I think that we're starting to take those early steps as we start to get to know each other better. But I think that as a party as a whole, we are in the process where we have steps to take towards the future, especially towards 2020 and towards our future beyond that, where we understand each other a lot better and we understand our commonalities, because we do have an enormous number of commonalities. I would also like to go on record by saying this. I believe in my heart that I'm allowed to disagree inside my party. I'm allowed to disagree with folks in the other parties. I'm allowed to disagree with my wife. I'm allowed to disagree with my children. And I'm still allowed to have healthy relationships with all of them. Okay? I do not, if you're asking me as a Democrat to disrespect a Republican value, then what you've asked me to do is disrespect my father, and I won't do that. Do you understand? I'm allowed to argue with my dad. I'm allowed to have really healthy discussions with my dad, critical discussions with my dad, but I'm allowed to do it civilly, and I darn well better do it with respect. And I know that that's not always something that's easy and polite to say. Often in our country's history, some of our biggest progress has been when the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have worked together to a negotiated middle. We've had some amazing successes. We have. So we have to look at our future and say that's possible there too. I'm allowed to invite Chick-fil-A into the county and not buy any food there because I don't agree with their politics. I'm allowed. I'm allowed to encourage growth, and I'm allowed to say, yes, we have fracking. They should continue. No more. No more.
Okay, how are we going to encourage growth for the existing small business people in this county instead of bringing in Chick-fil-A? How can we bring up people like me who have been here? We opened this place in 1963. We've been here 56 years as a family-owned and operated business. It's been a restaurant for 27 years, and it's becoming harder and harder and harder for me to keep this place going because we have a lot of these chain stores. We have these boxes up the road, Texas Roadhouse. We have places like this that are bleeding me. What can you propose that's going to help bring the local businessman a chance to survive?
So the first plan that I would like to initiate in the first year is I'm not very satisfied with our internet presence here in Fayette County. In fact, I would go, I don't like being negative, but I probably could go to the point of saying that I'm really disappointed in the idea of what our internet presence is. So what I have is I have 1.5 million people going to a How each summer. Okay, and then I have a situation where if I get the Sheepskin Trail finished here, and if I broaden 21, going out to 79, I complete 43, connecting 68 all the way to Pittsburgh, then the next thing that has to occur is that I have to have a vibrant web presence so that when I stop in one of the hotels, I have the very simple idea of saying, I want a steak, and on that web presence, I go click, and then it promotes the local family-owned business first.
Infrastructure.
It is the internet infrastructure. It's just like when I was talking in the last, I need, in those townships that are along these major corridors, yes, I've met with our township supervisors over and over and over again to try and get to know them and for them to have a chance to get to know me. But I need everyone to be able to say the following. They need to be able to say sewage, water, gas, electric, high-speed internet access. That has to become the last word when it comes to discussing in-place infrastructure. It needs to be in our homes, and then it also needs to be in these locations where we would like to attract businesses. Now, if I have that, I could have a simple QR code, if you've ever seen those little dots, on a simple card sitting in one of these hotel rooms, where it actually just clicks and it's on the person's phone. Mm-hmm. And my goodness gracious, if we had a vibrant website, then I'd be in a situation where every single one of those tourists would be able to know exactly where to go. And that they could choose to have, notice this room that we're in, and those of you who know this place, this is a destination.
Sure.
This is a destination. It is much more than just an amazing menu. It's a destination. And so we have to promote that destination.
What I meant by destination is now it seems that all of the restaurants are being circled around shopping malls and they're all around hotels and they're all around movie theaters and for someone to come here, it truly is a destination.
It is a destination.
It's not like, it's not in a good way, in a bad way, it's a destination. You have to consciously decide to travel 20 miles to come here.
Okay, so 75% of tourists in the United States of America, 75% are actually destination tourists. Okay?
I'm not plugging
destination tourists.
I'm just using it as an example.
Oh, no. And I need them to have access to know that Hutch's wings are amazing, and so's Clock's wings down at Fairchild.
Well, how would you
They're
get
pretty
this
amazing, too.
website national instead of just in the hotel when somebody comes here? A lot of people like to plan an itinerary.
So the big sign when you're going across the Spears Bridge going into Washington County says, "Visit Washington County, PA." Where's ours? Where's ours? Now, I was up at Kentuck Knob, and we were discussing the idea of promoting Kentuck Knob, and I said, all I ask is that the next time you put out a brochure, all I ask is one little simple thing. On your brochure, when it says near Pittsburgh, I want it to say near Pittsburgh in Fayette County. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking is 3 words. 3 words. Because I am offended by the idea that all of our treasures are promoted as near Pittsburgh instead of in Fayette County.
Well, how does your resume make all this happen? How does your experiences and what you know, how are we going to rely on your leadership and your guidance to make all this happen? I believe you can come up with something. I want you to tell me and them at least.
So
give us an idea how
you want a
you're
county
going
commissioner candidate who actually has done HTML web pages on his own, who taught educators how to use technology in the classroom, whose son is in his PhD in computer science, and I have to just learn stuff to keep up with him and understand what he's doing.
That's a start.
These are the ideas. These are genuine resume talents that I've already done. I've worked with Fortune 500 companies in order to make sure that their graphic user interfaces for their computer systems are actually employee friendly. I already have the resume to do this. I'm not the guy who's going to need the $50,000 study to figure out what to do. Now, there's one other side that I would probably like. I say we go steal stuff too. I think that within those first 100 days that we start looking at our nearby counties who are doing things a little bit different than us, and I say we steal it. I say we steal it. I'm sorry, it's the only way to say it. If there's a good idea, I say we steal it. I say we steal it. We have. Okay, so we have places like Kentucky that are so similar to us, who have an amazing destination philosophy when it comes to attracting people there. All around 2 things: horse racing and whiskey. So we shouldn't sit around and act like we need more. We have one of only 20 UNESCO World Heritage Sites right here in Fayette County, Falling Water. There's only 20 in the United States of America. Only 20. And we've got one of them. We're poised and we're ready. You have to have somebody who has the energy.
Well, we need to increase our national presence, right?
And the only way to do that is to actually, we have amazing local people with an incredible talent when it comes to the media. We don't even have to go outside our borders. We also are in a scenario where, why don't we engage the kids from Penn State, Cal, Waynesburg College, WVU, Pitt. The kids were already sent in there anyways. Engage them to come back and actually do that. We have an amazing television station right at Abercrombie School District. Those kids would love to do nothing more than to promote this area. Nothing more. We're in a situation where we have the talent we need, we just need to coordinate it. That's all. We just need to coordinate it a little bit.
Do we have any more questions?
I call that cheerleading
I'd
sometimes,
like to
too.
get more questions from the people out
It
here.
goes back to leadership. There's good people, there's good ideas, it's leadership. It's what we lack in this country, it's leadership.
I think we're in a situation where I keep asking people that, and I said this in the early debates, is the idea that I think we're in a unique position where we can actually select 3 county commissioners with complementary talents who can actually work together. And while one commissioner is working on one area that they actually have a strength in, the other commissioner can be working in another area where they have a strength in. And then we can come together in order to be able to produce a greater product. Because,
But to address her question, we need to make sure that everybody wants to work together and work towards the same future. That's the problem.
okay, so the idea
I know
goes.
you can't answer that. That's not something.
Yes, I can. Absolutely,
Okay,
yes,
well,
I can.
then-
100%. I see no reason whatsoever why you can't go into a room with different organizations with different goals and be able to say, it's like I did. I went to 36 pastors throughout the entire county when I started this campaign. 36 pastors. And I said to them, I went all the way up to Bishop Malesic. Bishop Malesic was wondering why there was a young Protestant boy in his office. And I said, sir, here's what I want you to understand. I understand that every one of your priests and every one of your pastors are on the front lines of the drug crisis. And each one of these people said the same thing. Why do you believe that? And I said, because I know that you married them, you baptized them, and you buried them. And you buried them because of drugs. You're on the front lines too. You're on the front lines too. This is as important to you in your role as it is to me trying to seek this role as county commissioner. I know it's as important to you. So when I say that I want to make sure that every Fayette County citizen is educated about drugs so well, so strongly, that if the woman sitting next to them at church experiences a hip injury and she's prescribed a drug that is too strong for her to understand or too difficult to get off of, that every member of that community knows exactly what to do. Drug dealers are incredibly smart. We've got to be smarter. They're incredibly talented. We've got to be more talented. So I don't see why we can't have faith-based organizations working side by side with our county organizations. After you leave a drug treatment program associated with our county or an alcohol treatment program associated with our county, where do they go for their meetings? 9 times out of 10, it's at one of our local churches. They're already involved. I'm just saying to involve them more. When I have a person who's trying to be involved in the Veterans Court program, right, associated with our county, then I need them to have the resources, the mentorship. I need them to have the camaraderie waiting for them at their local VFW or their local Legion after they've completed that program. Because that's the camaraderie that will help them to be successful. I need the private industry council, I need career services to be ready in order to get them a new career. Just like my father did when he worked at the private industry council trying to find coal miners new jobs. And these are adult men, adult women, who are in the situation where all of a sudden they were making amazing salaries and now those jobs are gone. The only thing I have to end with that conversation is a small pay attention. In the last 3 weeks, we've had incredible things hit the news when it comes to the possibility of a future recession. If you're paying attention to the news, the stock market's doing weird things. And one of the only economists in all of North America to predict the last recession in 2011, he just came out publicly and said that he predicts a recession within the next 12 months. So we have to be prepared, and we have to be educated ourselves to be able to handle all things that can come our way. Because if we do have a recession, and we are having to tighten our belts, then I need you to make sure you elect people with the most talent to be able to handle both sides of the possibilities. Both sides of the possibilities. Because with recession comes hopelessness, and that could enhance our drug problem. With recession could cause joblessness, and that could enhance that problem. With recession, we could experience more blight. So we better be prepared on all fronts. And when I have that communication in that room that I talked about, Albie, then that's what gets everybody on the same page at the same time. So that each and every one of the groups is together. for a common goal.
Well, I don't know what to follow that up with. I think the recession has already started, to tell you the truth.
It's a possibility, because you never notice it when it
You never
starts.
know when it starts. I mean, but
Yeah,
but
you never
can look-
notice it when it
You can
starts.
look back in hindsight and then see it, but you don't.
Yeah,
And I think it's started already.
it could.
Okay. Now, do we have any more questions? Is there anything else? If not, Kevin wants to give a summation.
We're gonna do a last chance for any questions on
Any
the table,
questions?
whatever you like.
Any money? Any money? Any questions?
Change for change in there.
I don't get any of that. This all goes to Kevin. If nobody really wants to ask him any more questions, I want Kevin to summarize what his intentions and what his background brings to his feeling he deserves to be our leader or our part of our leadership. Yes.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah, and we'll repeat it so everybody can hear.
Well, maybe it's just a suggestion. But
That's okay.
I think, you talked about blight and future recession potentially and future blight. And I know in the Uniontown area, maybe countywide, I'm just not that familiar. But I think it's important maybe to have an ordinance countywide that stops property owners from turning single-family homes into multi-apartment complexes. And I think that this is contributing very much to poverty and blight.
So
And
that everyone hears here.
Slumlords.
Yes.
We have concern about the idea of countywide ordinances when it comes to handling blight. And there's probably a list we could go through of different ordinances that would actually prevent and or address blight of the people who own those properties. But I think that the best way to address that question and that comment is the idea to say we have certain boroughs, townships, and the county-wide that handle their own ordinances. So there are certain areas of the county that handle their own individual ordinances, and then we have the umbrella over that of county ordinances. So I think the appropriate thing to do would be able to have a common meeting of all those individuals on the township, borough, and county-wide scale to be able to say, let's coordinate these, because I'll have to share with you the idea that certain areas probably have better ordinances that they need to be shared with the rest of the county and with the rest of the boroughs and townships, so that we can have a much more common goal and say, this is our problem we'd like to address. We'd like to address people who are taking large-scale properties and then turning them into some pretty bad situations. I have to tell you, Paul, I've seen a place in Brownsville where I toured it with my wife, and it was nothing more than a room no bigger than the area that Albie and I are sitting in right now, and it had nothing but a bed and a dresser, and that was what the person was renting. And then between 5 of them, they had a single bathroom. And I just think that's an inappropriate way for any of our neighbors to live. I think that doesn't necessarily promote success for them or success for our county. And so we need to have codes that actually prevent that. And I think that we need to push ourselves where we're in a position where we can actually generate that change. Sometimes it's going to need to be punitive, and sometimes it's going to need to be through encouragement. So we have to be able to make sure we have a carrot and a stick in that situation, not just a stick. Because I really would like that property owner to do better and be better.
Well, if the codes and ordinances are in place, then maybe we don't need to replace them. Maybe we need new leadership that drives to enforce them.
And I think that
Well, how about this? Other than creating profiteers with low-income housing, slumlords, how can we house other than projects? We put up these projects which just turn into crime-infested areas. Well, we need low-income housing if we're going to keep low-income people in this county. Or bring up the income.
But in addition to bringing up the income, we also have to realize that Pennsylvania statewide, some of the biggest successes we've had is by having multi-use communities where we're actually within one community, we have high-end, middle, and we have HUD, associated housing, all within the same neighborhood, and it's mixed, so that you actually have a much more vibrant community. And let's be honest, that's the way it was in Fayette County in the old days. We were in a situation where some of your neighbors were middle class, some of your neighbors were actually quite well off, and some of your neighbors were poor, but they all had jobs that enabled them to actually seek home ownership. And yes, they may not have had the biggest house
This
in
is
the
a
neighborhood.
countrywide problem.
And it is a countrywide problem, but I think that when you look at the successes are those places that are being built multi-use neighborhoods, so that you have everyone living together. I'm a rarity, I guess, when it comes to people seeking public office who had to go into the homes of my families that I've served in Dunlap Creek Village and in Lemonwood Acres and Persian Court and Outcrop. And I was actually in that situation, and a lot of these places have been torn down since then because they had been in such bad situations. But I also have to tell you, I have a community near my home in Fairchance where we have middle-class homes, and then we have what is often referred to as a project, and the families, we walk our dogs together, we're all together, and there's the little things you notice, I think, as a Fayette County resident, that when I walk my dog over into the neighborhood, yes, maybe we would use the terminology of project, but everyone has gardens, everyone has flowers, they have a lot of pride and ownership, and it's just a real hallmark. It's a beautiful opportunity.
Has this addressed your question at all?
Yes, I think diversity creates an incentive for all people to do better.
Yeah, because we are all neighbors, and there's no reason for us to be isolated from each other. There's really not. So yeah, I guess what you're bringing up is the idea of vision and leadership, and that I have that vision and leadership, and I'm asking for everyone's vote. I'm asking for you to vote for me. I have the resume that demonstrates leadership at a corporate level, working with vice presidents of places like Citibank and Verizon, traveling the country. I personally taught at the business level, not in public education, but at the business level, supervisors and managers how to manage their employees in Sherwin Oaks, Burbank, Van Nuys in California, Toronto, Minneapolis, traveled to the Dakotas to work with Gateway Computers. I have this experience, but then also in my background, I have the experience of working with some of the lowest income struggling families that Fayette County has, and watched them experience amazing successes as they grew, and watched their children grow and experience successes. So I'm asking you to add me with that fresh set eyes, vote for me, hire me for this office to sit there with what I believe are also amazing choices for you, of talented individuals.
What do you folks think?
Sounds good to me.
Any last questions?
Was that one more? Was that another question? Oh, I thought I heard I do. I'm sorry. Okay. I was hopeful that we'd have at least one or two more questions, but it's a nice bit of success. It was a nice turnout. I hope you got to meet Kevin, and I personally, I'm staying as a business owner. I'm like Switzerland. I'm neutral. I'm trying not to participate. I don't endorse anybody, but I have done several podcasts with candidates from both sides. I find Kevin to be an honest gentleman. I find him to be a more than qualified. There again, I'm not throwing an endorsement. I'm just saying we could do a lot worse in this county than Kevin.
I just want. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much. And I thank everybody for coming. And please join me on Facebook. I love to get hard questions there too. And Kevin Jones for Fayette County Commissioner. And you're even welcome to join my personal page And
We'll have a Facebook Live of this, so you can go back and listen to the questions, listen to his answers, and find out and review it and see if anything that he said resonates with you.
and you're welcome on there to even start up a conversation, and I'll be more than happy to complete it.
Right, like his page, share his page. That's what social media is all about. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not here to endorse anybody, but I want everybody to get their message out there. The only way that we can have any kind of participation is through information and observation, and we need that.
And here's my endorsement. You absolutely have to, no matter what you're doing. If you're in Fayette County and you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching this on social media, yeah, gotta come to Hutch's Tap Room, and you gotta get yourself some steak, you gotta get yourself some wings, you gotta get yourself some breaded fish. You guys, it's my endorsement, 100%.
Kevin had a steak tonight.
I had an amazing steak tonight. I just want everybody to know.
Make it your destination.
That's right. Destination marketing. This needs to be your destination. Do not drive down 119 without stopping here, and come from all over the county to come here. You're going to absolutely love it. There's just so much eye candy here to look at, and it's so fun. And your eyes will never be rested the entire time in your meal.
Well, I don't do this for the purpose of advertising or to plug my restaurant, but I appreciate everybody that came in tonight, and I'm glad that you got to meet Kevin.
And tip your waitress as well when you come.
Well, that goes without saying. Good night.